and welcome back to Positive Light. I am your host, Joni Lane, and we are here every Monday at 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. And I'd like to say thank you to LCM TV for having us here. You were listening to music by Sam Houston on his album Beyond the Crescent Moon. And Kelseyville is where I live right now, and that is where our nonprofit is located. And at our nonprofit, we hold meditation classes and personal growth classes of all different kinds. Monday nights at 7 o'clock every week, we hold our meditation classes. And these are groups of different kinds of meditation. And I call them classes because I am a teacher and I can help you learn to meditate if you don't already know how. And if you do find a way that works for you, it's a great place to come and spend an hour in meditation. There's all different levels of meditators there, beginning meditators, people who have been meditating 20 plus years. So it's very comfortable, we're very open, no cost. It is open to the public, nobody's turned away, unless of course we're full, but we have plenty of room. And again, we're located in Kelseyville. My information will be coming up on the screen throughout our talk today, so you'll have a chance to jot down the information. Feel free to call me or send me an email. And you can check out our calendar page on our website, apositivelight.com, and find out more information on the classes that are scheduled. So every Monday night at 7 o'clock we hold meditation, and that could be sati meditation, which is mindfulness meditation, or metta meditation, which is loving kindness meditation, or vipassana meditation, which is insight meditation. And there's so many others: walking meditation, eating meditation, breathing meditation, smiling meditation. So we try to incorporate a lot of different types of meditation, and I try to make a lot of different suggestions so that if you don't understand one thing, perhaps something else I say or something someone in the class says resonates with you and the light goes on and you think, oh, I get what that means. One of the number one problems that people have come to me with regarding meditation is they'll say, I don't know how to get my mind to stop talking. I don't know how to make my thoughts go away. And you're actually not going to get your thoughts to go away. You're a human being and you have a brain and it's wired to think. We even think when we're asleep. Those are dreams. There's just really no way to stop the thoughts. But there are ways of not really getting involved with them. There's ways of having thoughts, identifying them and letting them go for now, and just not getting involved with them. So those are the things we work on Monday nights. And I call it work because it is a practice. Meditation is a practice, and like anything else, we get better with practice. It's easier and easier to drop into that quiet, blissful place when you do practice. So again, you're welcome to come every Monday at 7 o'clock and join us for meditation. And like I said, it's no cost, but we do appreciate donations. We are a nonprofit, so we do run on donations. That can mean $5, $10. Sometimes people can't afford anything that week, but they may pay something in a week or two. Maybe they can afford $20. And some people put as much as $100 in the donation bin. So it's really whatever makes you comfortable at the time. We also, on the second Tuesday of every month, we hold 12 in Zen. And that's Tuesdays at 7, second Tuesday of every month. And what 12 in Zen is based on the book 12 in Zen by Bill Crumbeen. He is a person that was involved in the Pacific Zen Institute in Santa Rosa, and he worked a lot with koans. And Buddhist koans are parables or stories. And using the traditional 12 steps from AA, he's taken those steps and with various friends of his created 12 in Zen, which is traditional AA steps, traditional AA steps that have been used to do Zen practicing. So now we have traditional AA, Zen practitioner steps, and societal normal steps. And between those three topics, each step each week is based on one step of the traditional AA steps. We take a step and we meditate on that for about 10-15 minutes. And just kind of see how that step resonates with us, see what that means to us, taking some time to really get involved with the meaning of that step. And then after a few minutes, I will read a Buddhist koan that was paired specifically for that step, and we meditate on that. When we're meditating on the koan in comparison to the step that we're relating it to, all kinds of different thoughts and images may come up. And we kind of let that happen. We kind of let that expand and develop on its own and see where it goes. And then we'll share those ideas with each other. And each week that we do that, there may be 12 people in the room. We have 12 different ideas. And so we learn so much from each other. We laugh at some of the thoughts we have because some of them are really comical and bizarre. But, you know, enjoying life is part of laughter, and we are people. We think bizarre thoughts sometimes, and sharing them is a fun thing to do. It's a lot of fun. Second Tuesday of every month, 12 and Zen. There is no cost for that as well. It's donation based. The last Friday of every month, I hold a Reiki healing circle. And I am a Reiki master teacher, and I practice Reiki, which is energy work. And on the last Friday at 7 o'clock until 9, you'll come and receive Reiki and a guided meditation from me. And it's very relaxing. It's a unique experience, different than regular meditation. People sign up right away. As soon as the class is done for the night, they go over and sign up again for the next one because it's such a powerful and unique experience. And I'd really love to share that with more people. So please email me or call me and I'll put you on the list and we can talk about it. And I can explain a little bit more about how that works. And then 3 or 4 times a year I also hold Healing Movement Qigong. Master Ming Tonggu was my teacher, and he taught me healing Qigong, which is different. Qigong is Chinese energy work, and we're moving energy through the air. But what Master Ming Tonggu taught was how to use positive energy to heal our bodies by flushing out toxins and stimulating our cells in a positive way with positive energy. It's a very powerful action. What happens is many people go to him at the Chi Center, and the Chi Center is his healing center. Excuse me. And there's patients there with leukemia, Parkinson's, people who have gone through heavy treatments for breast cancer, all kinds of different illnesses. They go through his courses on healing Qigong and are amazed at the results. Some of them have immediate remissions. Some of them can cut back on their medications right away. Other people go back to their doctors and their doctors say, you know what, you've improved so much, we're going to take a second look at what's going on. So it's a very powerful thing, and he's a great teacher. He's still around, he's still teaching. I took years of teaching from him, and I love sharing that with people. So check out our calendar page on our website, apositivelight.com, and see when that will be scheduled. I'm in the process of looking at that right now to figure out when we can do it. If you are interested, please email me or call me and let me know of your interest so that I can maybe plan a date around what works for you, too. I'm not opposed to doing that. I need to know other people's schedules in order to offer them things that will help them. So also, I like to have guests on the show, and I don't always get that opportunity. Now, if you know of someone or you yourself has something positive message to share with others, please get a hold of me. Contact me. Let's talk about what you might want to say and what you might want to share with others, as long as it's a positive message. I'm really open to having you here. I would love to share more positive messages on the show. So please feel free to contact me with that. On May 18th, I am having a guest here, and that's in 2 weeks. We will be having Eugenia Steinman, who has a radio talk show called Jail Talk. And she has a wonderful vision that she put into action of having a radio show where inmates can receive calls from their loved ones and have a conversation on the air. And it's a very powerful show. She loves doing it, and she has a history behind it that she wants to share with us. So I'm really looking forward to that. She also is very involved in the local Native American traditions. Lake County here in California has a large Native American population with a lot of history here. And she's got some great information on the Thule dolls that apparently have been around for some of the, I think she said they are the dolls that have been around the longest in the history of California, but I could be wrong. It could be the history of the nation. So we're going to get that clarified when she'll be here on May 18th. But there is a heavy significance in the Thule dolls, and their history has a real deep meaning with the Native Americans around here. So that should be a really interesting show. She's also going to show us how to make them. So she will have her supplies here, and she'll show us how to make them, what they mean, the history. It'll be very interesting. On May 25th, we will have Helen Turley back with her partner Norb Yates. And Norb was on a few months ago with me, and they're both wonderful people. They also hold classes at their place, the Sun House. And it's usually revolved around the 5 agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz and the Enneagrams. And Enneagrams are numbers that represent our personality types. So, fascinating information about ourselves. We can learn more about ourselves and become better people, which is always a good thing to do. So we're looking forward to having them back as well. So for the past few weeks, I've been discussing Buddhist concepts, specifically the Four Noble Truths, and how knowing more about them can help our understanding and how we can let go of behavior that no longer serves us or unhealthy behavior in general. What are the Four Noble Truths? Well, the first Noble Truth is the first enlightenment that Buddha taught was there is suffering. Life is full of suffering. We see it on the news. We hear it all the time. There's things that are not good that happen. And sometimes we do it to ourselves, which is the second noble truth. Suffering has a cause. We create suffering. And that's an interesting concept when you think about it. First of all, there is suffering. Secondly, we cause the suffering. The third noble truth is that suffering can be ended. We can end suffering. There's a dog howling and crying outside. It's very musical, so I'm laughing about that. We can end suffering by letting go of the things that we create suffering around. So let's slow down a bit and go over this again. Life is full of suffering. Life is painful, can be frustrating, we can get angry, we live in a state of suffering at times. The second noble truth of suffering has a cause is we create the suffering. We create the fact that we are hanging on to something that we created. We are looking for an attachment to an ending. I want to start a business, and this is how it's going to go, and this is how it's going to end up. Well, when you do that, it usually does not work exactly the way you want, so you get frustrated, and it causes suffering. Say you go out on a date with somebody that you really like, and you end up realizing that you don't really like them that much, and you're disappointed. That's a state of suffering. There's all kinds of suffering in life, and most of it is caused by us because we're holding on, we're attached to an outcome that we want. instead of accepting what is. The third noble truth is suffering can be ended. Suffering can be ended because we're no longer creating the suffering. We're no longer holding on to what we want. So, the third noble truth, suffering can be ended. The fourth noble truth is through awareness or mindfulness, we can let go of the thoughts that we created that have created suffering. Meditation itself can help us in so many ways, and in using meditation around the Four Noble Truths, we identify what is suffering in our life, what we are suffering from, whether we caused it and we're attached to it, what we can do to make it stop, and the steps through awareness that we take to let go of the suffering and our habits that have created it. So doing the meditation is so important, and a lot of people will come to me and they'll say, I really need to meditate, I'm so stressed. And meditation is great for stress relief, but it can do a lot more. It can help us to understand ourselves better as individuals. Why do we do the things we do? Why do we say the things we say? Why do we act or react the way we act? And from becoming more aware of our behavior, we can begin to bring changes into our lives that can make us better people and therefore make the world a better place. It's becoming aware, aware of our actions, aware of how we've caused problems because we're stuck and hold on to something that isn't going to work. Meditation can help us understand why we have communication problems. By meditating on a communication problem, we can begin to dissect it in a way. We can look at our part in the miscommunication, and we can make changes on how to approach and discuss a topic with someone without pushing their buttons and without allowing them to push our buttons. That sounds very simple, but it's actually a lot of work, because through meditation, we're actually identifying, we're stepping back from our emotions for a minute. We're getting disinvolved with our emotions for a minute. And we're really looking at what's going on, the truth of what's going on. We're separating ourselves from what we want to looking at what is. Now, when people are pushing your buttons, that's coming from somewhere else. They don't know those buttons are there. They're usually from your past. Often we push people's buttons and we aren't even aware of it because they have their past. When you think about it, we're all people trying to get along in this world, and we're so defensive that it makes it very difficult. But through the fourth noble truth of practicing meditation, you can separate yourself from that and really look at it objectively and learn where that stuff is coming from. It's a very important part of growing and becoming a better person. Really knowing who you are. Really understanding your past, where things came from, why we act the way we do, why we say the things we say. Without really giving it a whole lot of thought sometimes. We react very quickly. And a good practice, when we have that problem, is to stop. And I've been practicing this for a long time, and I still have a difficulty with it. Stop reacting quickly. Don't say anything. Think about what you want to say and ask yourself, where is this coming from? Why am I responding this way? Is this the appropriate way to respond? Am I going to get a positive reaction from this before I say it? If you want a positive response from the things you say, you might want to look at whether you're using the positive words that will create the positive reaction. So taking responsibility for the things you do and say is a big part of it. Being more aware of how you act and why you act the way you do, you can create less stress. And I say create less stress because we create stress. Sometimes we get so attached to what we want to hear or what we want the outcome to be, that we stomp our feet and get very angry when it doesn't happen that way, or when someone doesn't react the way we want them to. We can't control other people, but we can be clear to the other person on what we want. And using the correct words is a very important part of that. Being mindful of the words that you're using to express yourself is a very important part of communication. If you want to be heard, make sure you're using the words that are saying what you want to say. Often people will say things and they'll think, well, you know what I mean. And sometimes I don't know what you mean. I only hear the words you're using and I only interpret them the way I know how, which may be way off point. So if you don't make the assumption that I know what you mean, be careful what you say. Choose your words to be accurate. I think we all get tongue-tied, and as you noticed, I do that quite a bit on camera sometimes when I'm trying to make a point. But I try to listen to what I say, and I try to use the correct words to convey the right message. And I'll also try to do it 3 or 4 different ways, because I realize people hear things differently. One person may hear something that I say and get one thing out of it, and another person will get something totally different out of it. And that's based on their background. That's based on their upbringing and their history. And I know that, so I try to be aware of it. And again, meditation is a big part of awareness, not just of myself, but becoming aware of how other people are. Being compassionate to a point of not only caring how they feel, but being able to put myself in their place and think, okay, if I heard that, what might that sound like? If they're not acting the way you want them to act, or they're acting in a bizarre way you didn't expect, could it have been the words you used? Could you have said it differently? Sometimes there's a lot lost in translation. So patience and understanding and compassion are very, very important when you really want to communicate clearly with someone. I think a really big part of this is not being attached to the outcome. Becoming less attached to the outcome and accepting what is can make you a happier person, because you're not fighting something. You can insist on something as much as you want, but if you're not going to get it, you're not going to get it. And it's just going to frustrate you. So when you look at the truth of things, and you look at how you're saying things, and look at how you're listening to things too. Are you listening to what they mean to say? Are you reading your own emotions into a statement somebody's using? There's so much clarity that can become clear when we meditate, stepping back and looking at how we're acting and why we're acting, where it comes from. Where is the seed of this? What happened in my childhood that made me defensive on this subject or sensitive on this subject? Usually it has nothing to do with the person we're talking to. It's all about us and how we perceive things. And it's about them and how they perceive things too. But we can't control that. We can only control the words we use to try to convey the messages. There's a lot of words that I just said. And I try to say things in many different ways. So hopefully some of that got clear. I don't know. A lot gets messed up sometimes when we talk because we're busy thinking of what we want to hear. And while we're busy thinking about what we want to hear, someone else is talking and you're not really hearing what they say. I would suggest this week just taking that as a practice. How often do we do that? How often am I listening to someone and I'm already understanding what I think they mean to say, but they're really not saying that at all. But I've already decided. I know what you're saying, so I'm not going to listen anymore. That's not really fair to the other person because first of all, you're not giving them the respect of listening to them. And secondly, you may not really be hearing what they're saying. and now you've missed something. So, making assumptions, as Don Miguel Ruiz points out, is never a good thing. We usually assume wrong. I think that meditation can be used for, a lot of therapists are using it for depression. And one of the things I've noticed when I say that is it's very generalized. Depression can be clinical depression, which requires medication and therapy. And depression can be just dealing with emotions that we haven't processed yet. It's often a result, and usually a result, of something that has happened to us that we don't know how to process. We don't really have the tools to process it, so we don't process it. We just know that it hurts, or we didn't like it, and we hold on to it. And we hold on to things that we don't understand how to let go of. There's a cycle that goes on with depression. When something happens to us that we don't like, and we don't know how to process it, we really have no choice but to hold on to it. Because our brain wants to go over it and over it and over it until it figures it out. But if we don't have the tools, it's difficult to get out of that cyclical thinking. During meditation, if you can step back and look at the situation, instead of becoming emotionally involved in it, look at the situation and think, where did this come from? Let's say, for example, somebody pushed a button that you have discovered came from a childhood incident where your mother or father made you feel bad about something. If you don't process that through, it will continue to haunt you through the rest of your life, and anything that comes up that's similar to that is considered a button that gets pushed, and you tend to react the same way each time. The more often you react this way, the more it becomes ingrained as a pattern. And then you're not even aware that you're doing it after a while. You're not even aware that you're acting a certain way. You just know that you always do. It's just the way I am. It's just my personality. But that's not really true. Through meditation, if you look at something and distance yourself from it, and dissect it, and understand where it came from, understand why it affected you the way it did, and also understand that it doesn't need to continue to affect you. You can let it go. That was then, this is now. It's a different situation, different people. You're older, more mature, hopefully. I think we tend to all hold on to things. We all have buttons that were installed through our parents and our peers and all kinds of different things that happen to us in life. But the question really comes down to, do you want to hold on to them? Because those are what is causing suffering. If you want to find that blissful place when you meditate, and you want to find some peace of mind when there's difficult people in your life, learning how to let go of those cyclical thoughts is a big part of learning to let go of suffering. I think a lot of times the serenity prayer helps. I know it helps me. Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, and the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I think wisdom to know the difference is a biggie. And through meditation, I have learned that I can identify what I can change, and I can identify what I cannot change. And the things I cannot change, I need to let go of or accept. I can hammer and hammer away at something, but if I can't change it, it's just going to cause suffering. So the serenity prayer is a good one to bring up once in a while. Remind yourself, sometimes there's some things you cannot change. But often through courage, you can change things. One of the ways we can meditate to become happier people is to take a few minutes at the end of the day and just kind of look at how the day went. How did the day go? Did I have difficulty? What was the difficulty? Just take one or two things and quietly close your eyes and look at them at a distance. Don't judge yourself or judge a situation. Just look at it and try to figure out why it bothered you, why it affected you the way it did. And once you separate yourself from that, you can start to dissect it a little bit and pull it apart and look at it. So we're going to take a break right now and give you a brief commercial. And then we'll be back in a couple minutes. Thank you.
You are invited to participate in a true multimedia experience coming to a home near you. LCM TV is bringing Lake County into the new millennium with news, live broadcast, information, music, talk shows, and local programming, all streaming in high definition online and soon to be on your Roku box. Join us at lcm-tv.com or be a part of our studio audience. You can also watch the shows at lakecomagazine.com as we provide programming to inform, enlighten, and maybe even enrage you. On Lake County Magazine Talk Show with Terry and Pete the Tax Guy, Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. Like racing? Try the Checkered Flag Show, hosted by Ace Naylor on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. All ages and divisions in regional and national fields. Joni Lane brings a positive light to you every Monday at 3 p.m. Pasha Space brings an international flair as they discuss ecological, health, and social issues in Haiti with people around the world. End up your week with positive, conscious sounds on Saturday at 9 a.m. with Sister T on the Bridge. This show is also simulcast on KMEC 105.1 FM in Ukiah. Our latest show, LCM TV News, is brought to you live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at noon, and rebroadcast at 6:30 p.m. and noon daily, Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday, featuring national, regional, and local news, weather, and sports. We have it all here for you on your local TV station, LCM TV. Join us online and soon on Roku, giving you access to all the best Lake County has to offer. We are lcmtv.com, your multimedia connection. Tune in for the fun. It's live TV at its best.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Joni Lane, and this is A Positive Light. Before the break, we were talking about meditation and using that to identify personal issues that we're having. Whether that's just looking at disagreements you're having with people or something that just seems to haunt you and you don't quite know what to do with it. Meditation is a very powerful tool that we can use for the Four Noble Truths, which can help us eliminate suffering. The first noble truth being there is suffering. The second noble truth being we create suffering. We create suffering because we hold on to things. We get attached to outcomes that we want. We don't accept what is. We want what we want. And the fourth noble truth is how to get to that peaceful place. How to let go of the things that we need to let go of. It's difficult when you don't have the tools to do it. But meditation can provide some of those tools to you. When you look at your day at the end of the day and you just kind of do a little review and you've picked out maybe one or two incidences where you might have been frustrated or felt impatient or angry, just kind of taking a few minutes and separating yourself from that and looking at it at a distance and identifying where that came from, dissecting it a little bit and thinking, is this something that happened to me in my childhood? Why does this continue to push this button? It came from somewhere. Usually, it came from something quite a while ago. And after years of repeatedly reacting to it, it has become a habit. Not a healthy habit. A habit you may want to let go of. It doesn't serve you if you're not happy. So, when you look at things from a long time ago, you can actually tell yourself, it was so long ago. It was so long ago. Today is a new day. That was then, this is now. Even those few words can help you identify the fact that it is no longer happening to you. it was then. Do I want to continue to hold on to it? No. Doesn't make me happy. And really, as the Dalai Lama says, the meaning of life is to be happy. So, I think taking every step we can to find that happiness is a very important thing. And if meditation is something that can help with that, why not? When you're looking at a different situation, look at it for what it is, what it truly is. Don't add more to it. Don't look at it from today's point of view. Don't look at it from that day's point of view. You may have been 3 years old and didn't understand it was scary. You may have been 12 years old, 14 years old, and you were sensitive. You didn't have tools to deal with society. But today, as an adult, you do. You don't need to carry those emotions with the thought. You can separate yourself from them. And remind yourself that it's not happening now, and I don't need to react to it the same way as I always have. I can find another way to react. My number one issue that I work on is I'm a very impatient person. I'm very impatient. I don't understand why people can't do things at a certain pace. And I have to remind myself that they're not me. They do things at the pace they do things at because they're different people. And I can't expect what I want to happen all the time. I can't project what I would do onto them. It's not fair to them. It's not fair at all. And it frustrates them. So now I've created another problem with my impatience. Not only am I creating my own suffering, but I'm creating someone else's suffering too by my high expectation. And is it a high expectation? Maybe not. Maybe it's an unrealistic expectation. So I need to look at the truth of where that comes from. I need to look at why I'm that way. Where does that come from? I can't tell you anything about yourself. I can only tell you about me. And I'm learning every day. And my 97-year-old grandmother told me I will continue to learn every day more and more about myself. And if meditation is the tool that can get you there, it's really a simple tool. Just taking 5 minutes or 10 minutes and just looking at where things come from, why we act the way we do. Do we have choices? Yeah. We can choose to live in love and have a loving reaction to things, or we can choose to live in fear and have a negative reaction to things. Now, sometimes fear isn't wrong. Sometimes we have fear in us because we are animals and we have to live in safety and protect ourselves. So fear does have a purpose. But when fear begins to make your decisions in life and it's not healthy, then you need to look at what's really going on and make the conscious choice to live in a loving way. It sounds really easy, and it's very difficult, because the older we get, the deeper our patterns become ingrained in us, and the harder they are to change. I have notes here because there's some questions that that I've asked people, and I wanted to make sure that I mentioned them, because my point of view is one thing, but other people have very important points of view as well. So one of the people I talked to before was looking at a distance at themselves, looking at their hurt feelings. She said, I think it's time to let go of this, but I don't know how. There's more processing that I need to do with it, which is why I'm insisting on holding on to it. But why? Why am I doing that? And there's many reasons that we could be doing that. Sometimes it makes us feel in control. When our lives are out of control in one area, sometimes we try to control other areas, because we feel so out of control that we need some kind of security. And that's a real typical human behavior. But it's an important thing to realize. Once you realize these things, you can make adjustments. Sometimes we hold on to things as weapons. to use against people who've hurt us and trying to make them feel bad in return. That's a real common one. Human beings are very sensitive people, and we get very vindictive sometimes when we're hurt. And we refuse to let go of something because we can use it as a tool to hurt someone else. It can be used as a weapon. Well, you hurt me when you did this, so I'm going to do this, and I'm never going to let you forget about it. And, it's a weapon. Now, when you look at that behavior, and I think it's something we've all done in our lives, it's not a healthy behavior. It doesn't make us feel good. It makes us feel powerful at times, maybe, but you're actually losing power because you're not being the better person. You're not leaving it alone. You're making it worse. You're aggravating a situation that you really would be better off if you left it alone so it could heal. And distance yourself from it so you can look at where that came from and why you are wielding that as a weapon. It's not healthy, and it creates wars. I think we create our own little wars on a daily basis sometimes. So when we look at the world and we think, wow, how can these people have wars? We're human. We do it ourselves on a smaller scale. So we need to start with ourselves and be better people so we can make the world a better place. Some of the other reasons we don't let go of things are sometimes we're afraid because we're used to it. We are used to having this feeling. It's a companion. It's been with us for so long that better the devil you know than the devil you don't. At least I know what I get with this feeling. But if I started digging deeply into something, I might get into places in my life, areas in my life that are painful. But unfortunately, in order to get to the clean water of our lives, sometimes we have to jump into the sewer. That's just the way it goes. When we've had something really traumatic happen and we don't deal with it, it just gets worse. It festers. And so eventually you do have to get in there and get in down and dirty and get in there and look at what's really going on before you can let it go. So fear is something that can control us. Courage to change the things I can. It's an important part of that serenity prayer. Sometimes we have just avoided and not processed through some things because we don't have the tools to even begin to know how to process it. If this is the case, meditation can help. Take a memory of a situation apart and look at it objectively. Through meditation, you can dissect something and look at all the parts that make it up. That's an important statement because there is rarely one answer to anything. Excuse me. Allergies are bothering me. I'm going to take a water break. Thank you. So looking at issue through meditation, you can help dissect it and pulling it apart and looking at it. Oh, this feeling comes from this situation. This feeling comes from this situation. Once you put them in specific places, this pain came from this situation in childhood. This anger came from this situation. You've separated things out. You can identify them and you can realize where they belong. When you realize where your emotions belong, you can leave them there. You can let them go. You don't have to hang on to them anymore. So processing through meditation is dissecting emotions, categorizing them, putting them where they belong, and then letting them go. It's a lot of work sometimes, but meditation helps you take the emotional part out of it. You're not emotionally involved in it anymore. It's still emotional. We're human. We have emotions, but separating yourself from it and looking at something objectively really does help you identify things and put them where they belong. And then you don't have to carry them around with you everywhere. By becoming aware of the originations of your feelings and identifying them, you can often see how silly it is to continue to hold on to them. That was then and this is now. That was a long time ago. Do I have to continue to react the same way every time a button is pushed? What are my triggers? What can I do different next time I feel these emotions coming up? Very important questions, and I'm going to repeat them. Do I have to continue to react the same way every time a button is pushed? Can I make a choice to do something different? What are my triggers? What can I do different next time I feel these emotions coming up? These are points when you can stop, take a breath, and consciously make a decision to react differently than you normally would. And in doing that, you're creating a new habit. There are neural pathways in our brain that are created because of repeated habits. It's the road of least resistance. It's a very deep path. After years and years and years of having a pattern, it becomes habit. Don't even know you're doing it. But when you stop and you consciously choose to create a different habit, you are creating a new neural pathway in your brain. And the more you use that neural pathway, the more that becomes your new habit. And the easier road that becomes to travel. So think of it as little road maps in your brain. You're creating a new pathway to follow. And you're making a conscious choice to do that. These are things that can be sorted out through meditation. Meditation is a very powerful tool. It's very quiet, it's very peaceful. And you can very easily separate yourself from things emotionally and just look at what is. These are all things I talk about in my happiness classes that I hold. And I hold these happiness classes every once in a while when people come to me, as I'm a life coach, and they'll come to me and think, I'm really stuck. I'm just stuck. I can't get out of this. I don't know what else to do. I've tried meditation. I've tried creating new habits. But sometimes something specific needs to be identified, and sometimes that takes some work. And in the happiness classes that I hold, we do work. We actually get down in workbooks and we work. And we look at what's going on and we identify things. And we laugh and we joke. And we look at how silly it is to be holding on to things 50 years later, 40 years later, that really don't apply anymore. But we're still reacting the same way. So if you're interested in doing a happiness class, let me know. I'd love to put one together. In the meantime, take some time to do some meditation and just look without any judgment. Don't be hard on yourself. Just look at what's going on, identify your emotions, where they came from, and separate yourself from them. Decide whether you can let it go or not. Decide whether you can react differently or not. The peace of mind you will gain from that is tremendous, and I can't explain to you how much of a benefit that will be. You will see it yourself. If you do 2 weeks of meditation, even 10 minutes a day, you will see huge differences. But don't have any expectations, because then you're becoming attached to an outcome, and that can cause suffering. We have human behavior that is so habitual, and being attached to outcomes is a habit. We get very excited about things and we think, oh goody, this is going to fix me. You'll fix you. You will fix you if you are really interested in learning more about yourself and what you're willing to let go of. You can do that. But it does take work. So, some thoughts to think about. How much do you want to let go of? How much do you want to look at where things come from? How much do you want to look at how much suffering you're creating and the things you can do to make changes? I also wanted to remind everyone that next Sunday is May 10th, and that's Mother's Day. So if you're not able to see your mom, or your children are unable to visit you, or your mom's not around anymore, I want you to consider taking the day and visiting someone else's mom. There's a concept. You know, it doesn't have to be your mother, but mothers are very important. I am a mom. I know that. We're very important people. But if you don't have the opportunity to see your mom, or your children can't visit you, and even if you're not a mom, if you're a dad, you can go to a convalescent home and visit a mom who doesn't have family or doesn't have family nearby. There's a lot of forgotten people that they're inconvenient and they have been ignored. And a visit on Mother's Day would mean so much to them. It would make them so happy to think that, wow, somebody cared enough to just show up. And you don't have to spend a lot of time with them, but you know what's fascinating? Is if you go to a convalescent hospital and you talk to the people there, they have stories that are amazing. And they don't tell people because they think they're boring people with them. But some of these people have amazing stories. Ask them about their childhood. Where did they grow up? What was it like? What did they do when they were kids out playing? You know, they didn't have computers. They probably did fun things. Some fun physical things like skipping and jumping and playing baseball. And you know, there is a wealth of history sitting in our convalescent homes that are being ignored. And I think if we took 10 minutes every once in a while and just talk to some people, and Mother's Day is a perfect opportunity to do it. Talk to some people, find out about them, make them feel like they are important, because they are. They are important. Every life on this planet is important. And people should know that. People should know that they are important and that people care. Give them an opportunity to tell their story before they're gone. Because life is fleeting. And sometimes what we can learn from a total stranger can make a very deep impact on us. More so than people that we go to for help sometimes. So think about doing that. It's just a suggestion. I wanted to remind you that we have 12 in Zen on Tuesday, the second Tuesday of every month. One Tuesday a month. I'm going to give you an example of that because I don't know that people really understand. Step one in the traditional AA is we admitted we were powerless over alcohol and that our lives had become unmanageable. Step one in Zen practitioner, I admitted I was powerless over my attachments to my ego and not in control of my actions. Step one for societal normal, admitted we have issues and we are unhappy because of them. Step one in all of those is about attachment and suffering. And I think it's interesting how that's kind of a pattern throughout many things. If you were to take those and just meditate on the one that resonates with you for 5 minutes and just see what happens, see what thoughts come into your head, see how that might blossom into something that means something different to you than you originally thought it was. And then meditate on this koan. Master Getten said to a monk, Kishu made a cart whose wheels had 100 spokes. Take both front and rear wheels apart and remove the axle. Then what will it be? Now, if you take that koan and you meditate on it, this monk had a cart whose wheels had 100 spokes. And take the wheels off and the axle, then what would it be? If you meditate on that in regard to the step that you chose, all kinds of different stories may start popping up. What could that mean? Could mean a lot of things, but be open. Let your brain create it all on its own without any suggestions from your conscious mind, and just kind of see what happens. We're going to be working on step 2 next week, which is the second Tuesday of the month. So if you'd like to join us for step 2, I would love to have you. There's no cost. It's donation based. It's at 7 o'clock. Tonight, Monday meditation at 7 o'clock, also no cost. And I really want to impress on you the fact that you can make big changes in your life by being kind to yourself, being easy on yourself. Don't judge your thoughts, but look at them, see where they come from. Identify them. Decide what you can let go of. Decide what you can consciously change. Decide what reactions you can change, which new habits you can create. And then try to practice those. And if you can visit someone next Sunday on Mother's Day, I know they'd appreciate it. And if it's not a convalescent home, there's many retirement homes. There's all kinds of people in the store you might meet. Just wish them a happy Mother's Day. It's an amazing thing to hear once in a while when you might feel forgotten, especially the people that are put away and forgotten. These are wonderful, loving people that need love and attention, and they deserve it. They should have it. So let's make an effort to make them happy. In the meantime, be good to yourself and join us for meditation if you can. If not, look for a meditation center in your area, because meditation can make huge differences in your life and can make huge differences in your happiness. So that's it for this week. I will see you next week, Monday at 3 o'clock, and I look forward to that. Thank you, LCM TV, for having us. Thank you, Sam, for letting us play your beautiful Beyond the Crescent Moon. And I do have these CDs available, too, if anyone's interested in purchasing them for $10. My information to contact me is going to be flashing up on the screen, so feel free to call me or email me, and look on our website on our calendar page to check out what's going on next. Thank you, and I'll see you